There will always be a place for podcasts, okay? I've seen it too many times where people are like, are podcasts dead?
Is it too late to start a podcast? Yes, but also no.
I'm sure you've realised ever since the pandemic that absolutely everyone you've ever met has now got a podcast.
Believe it or not, the peak of podcast has come and gone.
I'm getting up close and personal to tell you this one. I just think I've read way too many times on like YouTube, on LinkedIn, Twitter, actually not even Twitter, I don't know why I'm saying that, but I've seen it too many times where people are like, are podcasts dead? No, I just don't see a world where they'll ever be dead, honestly. I don't know if that sounds dramatic or whatnot, but there's such a fickle thing that they kind of stand by themselves in a category of their own. I truly believe that. That's what I'm going to talk about right now in this video. Videos can't compete with podcasts. Sometimes. Just sometimes though. At times, they cannot compete with podcasts. Why? Because with videos, now I've got a video production company, and this is YouTube. Hello, YouTube. But there is still times where podcasts are in a tier above themselves, where videos just can't compete. And the main reason is focus. You have to really lock in, or to watch a video properly, to really take it in, you have to lock in. You have to sit down, you have to be like, all right, I'm watching a video, my focus is on it, I'm taking everything in. Podcasts, that's where multitasking comes in. You can multitask while listening to podcasts, and that's literally a beauty of it, and it's why I think they won't go anywhere. And I'm kind of sick of people saying that, to be honest. Anyway, that's why I'm doing this. You talk about things you're passionate about, right? So, I myself have 3 perfect times when you're listening to a podcast, and it kind of sets it apart. 1, get out there. You can't see that, but go out in nature. Go for a walk and chuck a podcast on. I love doing that because, look, going for a walk with a podcast is nice because 1, you're away from screens, and 2, you kind of just have some company on your walk. Otherwise, you can literally have company on your walk, but if you don't, your company is whatever that podcast is. So go for a walk. Number 2, driving. Everyone drives to work unless something dramatically changes. Hello, fuel prices. Everyone's going to be driving. You drive to and from work. You drive to see your family and friends. You drive to, and guess what? You got to come home. And podcasts are an awesome way to fill that time. Nobody likes just driving on the road. Actually, I think some people kind of do, just like driving in silence with their thoughts. But I don't do that often. But podcasts to accompany you on those trips are pretty damn good. And it's a way to connect with, it's a way to learn stuff. If you want to learn, if you want to laugh, there's a podcast for every one of those emotions, every one of those needs that you probably want. So driving is number 2. Number 3, doing housework. Getting up, like everyone has to do housework, and to kind of like, it's almost like a cheating mindset, but if you're like, hey, I've got to do housework, I've got to do vacuuming, putting the washing on, I've got to clean the skirting boards, that you often forget about these little stupid things, chuck a podcast on and watch your mood lift, or watch your energized energy amounts increase. If you can listen to one of your favorite podcasts, then, or you actually save it for that moment when you're doing housework. Music is awesome for that too, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about podcasts, aren't we? Now, it's funny with these things because, look, you can listen to a podcast on a walk, on a drive, and what was number 3? Or doing housework. You can, or here's something pretty crazy. Opt to not have anything playing. Opt to not be doing anything else but being fully in those moments. And I gotta be honest, I don't do that often in terms of walking. I love putting something else on when I walk, but I know my brother, for example, he walks without content playing in his ears, without listening to music. He must just love his own thoughts a bit more than I do. I don't know, but I know that's probably good for you. And the same with driving and doing housework and everything. It's probably a wise idea to occasionally do that, but in saying that, you don't feel guilty for not. Put on as many podcasts as you want. You've got your thoughts with you all day, so you can be fully present, but they're awesome. They're really good times to listen to podcasts. So I digress. Accessibility is king for a podcast. The fact that you just got your phone the entire time in your pocket, that you can just chuck in an AirPod or two AirPods and just listen to whatever you want, wherever you are, is pretty cool. And it's also like a bit of a trap, as in like, hey, what I was talking about before, being present. You can just not do that. But the accessibility of a podcast is what sort of sets it apart in my eyes. And it's the main reason, honestly, this might be the main reason why I don't think podcasts will die. Like, I still have it ringing in my head, those clips I played at the start about people saying podcasts are dead. I think it's just the fact that it's a saturated market, honestly. Which leads me perfectly to my last point, and that is don't let the fact that it is a saturated market scare you off. Because I'm not gonna like sit here and be like, hey, it's not a saturated market. You hear, the classic thing when you talk to someone about starting a podcast, or they talk to you about starting a podcast, and it's like, man, everyone has a podcast these days. A lot of people do have podcasts these days, but a lot of people have clothes on their back too. That doesn't stop you from wearing them, and that was a really good analogy, but it is my point. Just because everyone is doing something or it's popular to do it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. If you want to start a podcast, do it, but do it for the right reasons in terms of, hey, I actually am passionate about this topic. I understand it's going to take a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, to maybe gain traction. Like, you have to be dedicated to this thing, and especially in a saturated market. I'm telling you, like, if you started a podcast 5 years ago, it'd probably be a hell of a lot easier to get in their eardrums of people. A lot easier than it is in 2026. But that's just the way the world works. You have to be quick to some things. It might be easier, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it right now. Oh, and the cool thing about podcasts is I feel really connected to the main podcast I listen to. That sounds funny because one of the main ones I listen to is a comedy. There's just a bunch of guys my age being stupid. But I still feel really connected to them. Like, I feel like I know them. Of course, it's not just comedy and stupidity. They're real life things creep in. The fact that they're in my country, they're in the same age as me, all that stuff. You literally feel connected to them, which is lovely. And it kind of is that you can go for walks, you can do all these other things, but at the same time, you can have like little friends in your ears, which is kind of cool. And podcasts are pretty special like that. The fact that you're sort of doing another task while listening to a podcast, the fact that you can do that, like something personal to you or something that you have to do or something just like a very normal life thing, but you also have these people in your ears talking to you about something, that makes it more of a connection. And other long form mediums can't compete with that. Whether we like it or not, they can't really compete with that to an extent. And my last point here, maybe the best point, it's a point about health really, but if you can get away from digital screens, like podcasting allows you to do, which sounds funny because it's like that's digital, but you are getting away from screens. You are not looking at anything unless you like looking at video podcasts, but I'm not even talking about video podcasts here. Let's talk about audio podcasts only. But if you can get away from staring at a screen for 10, 20 minutes, half an hour longer, that is great for all of us because I get sick of it. Like, we do it all day. And even when you clock off work, I just did it before. You clock off work and you're like, your natural instinct, unless it's housework or something, is to pick up another screen. That doesn't make sense. Like, if you're on a screen all day, you're not going to go and pick up another one when you think about it out loud. That's stupid. But we all do it because it's like, hey, that's work and that's entertainment, but they're two different screens. Anyway, digital detox. If something is to convince me of the fact that podcasts won't die, there's many different reasons that I've outlined here, but it actually gets you away from digital screens, which no other form of content really does. I should probably use it as like an advertisement more. That's actually a good marketing tool. Podcasts get you away from digital screens. Anyway, I'm rambling, but podcasts aren't dead. If they trap me again just to keep talking about it, but maybe it's not the boom that it was like 3 years ago. Maybe it's not, but the hell of a medium to grow, whether it's your brand, corporate, anything. They can still really help grow, and a lot of it comes down to connectivity. All right, podcasts aren't dead. Let's just clear that up for everyone.
I don't think podcasts will ever die, though. I'm bullish on podcasts.